Now, Walz is weird, but he disguises it under the costume of phony compassion, a fake politician who masks destructive ideas under the guise of empathy. At a 2017 town hall, he implied 10-year-old boys should be able to invade girls' bathrooms because it's...
Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote, Tim Walz, I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser,
You think you already know the story? Think again. This political circus didn't slowly fall apart. It crashed straight into chaos. Greg Gutfeld and Donald Trump, a no-filter duo with no brakes, joined forces and lit up Tim Walz like it was a holiday show and he was the main event. One moment, Walz was calmly delivering his smooth, carefully prepared talking points. The next boom, he was dodging sharp sarcasm and massive egos like a politician trapped in a public embarrassment machine. So what started all of this? How did Minnesota suddenly turn into a national joke overnight? Fair warning, it gets more awkward than a badly timed sing-along at Mar-a-Lago, and that bar was already buried underground.
Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank and service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there," and then ran away.
I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him.
Tim Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank and service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there," and then ran away.
I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice.
They say real leadership starts with vision, but Tim Walz seems to be working from a different script. One where vision means airtime and leadership is measured by how close the nearest camera is. When things start to fall apart, responsibility scatters in every direction. The weather, bad timing, unlucky circumstances, or whoever happens to be a convenient target that day, Greg Gutfeld included. Minnesota under Walz feels like a game set to the hardest difficulty, with every crisis switched on and no safety nets enabled. And if you think the potholes are bad, take a closer look at the policies behind them. They're deeper, rougher, and far more likely to wreck anything unlucky enough to roll over them.
It's hard to even bring him up. He has a resting snitch face, you know? He forfeited his man card during COVID and the riots. And you're right. And also, at that diner, of course, he left early. So don't you find it weird that for a terrifying threat to democracy that Trump is, not a single interviewer in his history has approached.
If you're enjoying this takedown, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you probably realize. Under Tim Walz, Minnesota feels like it's been stuck in a political deep freeze. Something left sitting since 2020, bland, outdated, and questionable enough to make anyone hesitate. Yet he keeps trying to dress it up with fresh excuses and expects people not to notice. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld rolled in with relentless sarcasm, and Trump showed up with the subtlety of a demolition crew armed with a megaphone. Together, they didn't just criticize the situation. They lit up an already smoldering PR disaster. The harsh truth is, they barely had to do anything at all. The moment was already there, waiting to be exposed.
This here's a quote I saw just recently. Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to vote? How so? Math problems? But it's further proof that the most dangerous thing for a leftist is a follow-up question, which is why you...
This takedown didn't need any planning. The punchlines wrote themselves. When a leader locks down an entire state so tightly during the pandemic that even Wi-Fi feels like it needs permission, you expect something to improve, but it didn't. The roads still look like they've been cratered by back-to-back meteors. Taxes keep rising like they're chasing something no one can see, and crime is its own never-ending chapter. Minneapolis under Walz now feels like a real-life game stuck on hard mode. No restarts, no updates, and graphics so bad they somehow make reality look worse. It's pure chaos, with no one clearly in control.
I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Dude. You're an old white guy. And you're right, you are a huge disappointment. I guess hating himself is the first thing he's